All right, Coach, let's just talk about 2015. Obviously, your group played a big role in the turnaround on the defensive side of the ball. And I've told, Rocky and some of those guys on the back end, they need to take those guys out to lunch every day or something because it makes a world of difference when the D-line's able to disrupt on the front end. And, obviously cuts the time that a corner or a safety is going to have to cover on the back end. It's going to make life easier on linebackers. Just a great season. What have you seen from the group now that you've had time to kind of let it sink in?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely an upgrade from where we were when we got here, and not only in the quality of players that we had, but the quantity. I mean, I think we rolled anywhere from 9 to 12 guys on any given Saturday, and so we felt really good about a 2 deep and then plus some. And just this day and age, I mean, you can't just play with four guys up front anymore. And if you're 5, 6, 7, and 8 are not close to your 1 through 4, you're going to be in trouble at some point over the course of the season or at some point over the course of a game. Just with how fast that offenses play nowadays. I mean, you got to be able to rotate guys and stay fresh in there. So, I feel really good about the core of guys that are coming back. We were talking just before we went on air here about some of the guys that have been here and redshirted and that will be in the mix this spring. I'm really excited to see guys like D-Liner, Javier Carbonell, T.J. Harris, to get a chance to compete and stuff that have been kind of sitting out on the side. Donovan Ransom to get back healthy and get in the mix in there as well. So I feel good about the depth and the direction that we're headed. I feel like we played well. We played good and great at times, and we need to take that step. I would like to see us take that step to being a dominant unit and just doing things that are ridiculous when you look at the stats at the end of the day when you play us.
Well, and then, looking at some of the accomplishments, and then obviously, and we talked about this before on the back end, the ball hawking defense that this turned into, a lot of that starts up front with that pressure, and you guys were able to establish a lot of that, obviously cut down on big runs
Sure.
and having teams gash you guys up the middle and things like that. Now that you've seen that and you're starting to get that depth and some guys got playing time under their belt that didn't have it before and moving forward with that depth, what's now maybe the next step? And then, just maybe some of the technique, maybe some of the things you want to see improve.
What you mentioned as far as, I think we led the country. Did we end up leading the country in interceptions? I knew we were 1 or 2 there at some point. So, we've got some guys back there that can go get it. Your best pass coverage is a good pass rush. But I think also that when in terms of our run defense and how well we played from a run defense standpoint this year, that can be attributed to backers and safeties fitting things better and getting involved in that and being physical as well. So it really does. It works both ways. And what you mentioned just as far as the next step, really just to see guys buy into in just in the process of trying to improve as an individual. If a guy improves as an individual, it's going to make your unit stronger. If your unit is better, it's going to make your defense better and your team better. So, just the things individually that we're going to lay out for certain players, just for them to, to first of all put in a great 8 weeks, 9 weeks, however much that is with Coach Shadid and his staff down there before we get our hands on them for spring practice, making some physical gains. Guys like Javon Jones, who have who's really been going through rehab every spring that he's been here from some type of surgery that he's had. So he's got no postseason surgeries. He's finally healthy, and he lasted for a season. So he's going to get a chance to make some gains instead of trying to get back to where he was before he had a surgery. So really excited to see what some guys can do physically. And like I said, just try to take that step, not physically and mentally. Let's try to be a dominant unit. There's no reason that we can't be.
Looking at a guy like D-Liner, obviously I see him in practice. I've seen the scout team scrimmage and how hard he was to control.
Yeah.
Took 2 and 3 guys. Talk about the journey of D since he got here. I know when he first got here, a little hard to adapt.
Sure.
You go from being a 4-star recruit
Humbling.
at Alabama and you can't play. You're going to have to sit out a year until you can hit the field. So you got to go through practice. You got to go through everything everybody else does, and you can't play. But talk about that journey to where he is now, because it seems like he's been able to evolve.
He has, really proud of D. First of all, we know what type of program that he came from. So when you come from that environment, and I mean, he was a 4 or 5 star guy coming out of high school that had all of these accolades and all of this attention, and to come here and just kind of humble himself and just be one of the guys and go do what he's asked to do when he knows that he can't compete on Saturdays. But he's bought into what we're doing here, and he's invested now physically down there in the weight room. He's changing his body. He got here at about 335, which is too heavy. I think right now he's around 318, somewhere like that. We'd like to see him down around 310, even maybe 300. You're talking about a kid that played some defensive end in high school. So if you've ever cut on his high school video, it's something special. So if we can get him back to where his movement skills are similar to, how he was playing when he was 275 pounds, 280 pounds, then we got a chance to have a special player there. But just really proud of him. He's put in the work that he needs to. A lot less of this and a lot more doing now. And anxious to see where he's at and what he can bring to the table.
What sample size you've been able to see? I mean, you haven't got to see him here with the lights on, but you see him every day in practice, and he's the first word that comes to mind for me is disruptive.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, on that field, you've got to account for him on that line, and it just seems like he is just going to be somebody that's hard to deal with.
We certainly hope that he's exactly that adjective that you threw out there, that he's really disruptive and that he's a penetrator and that he just destroys and kills blocking schemes, and it is a pain in people's rear end, to be honest with you. But I've seen flashes of that. We'll throw him in every now and then in an inside drill so that he's having to compete against their best ones. It's a little bit different when you're a scout team player. You're not supposed to win very much. You're going to screw practice up and get thrown off the field probably a little bit. So you got to let yourself probably get blocked in there some. So I'm really excited to see him get to cut it loose. He got to do a little bit of that in fall camp, but at the same time, in the back of our minds, we knew he was probably not going to be eligible. We had to get some guys ready, so we didn't invest a lot in him. But he has shown flashes of being that guy that we all think he can be.
Some of those other guys that came in and played vital roles, Waylon, Jake, obviously Robert, some of those guys, what you've seen from them, and then, obviously Waylon, Jake going in, not sure with Robert yet, but just what you've seen from those guys and the guys that we know are coming back, Chooks, some of the other guys you got on that D-line, what you've seen from them this year, what you want to see from them moving forward. Yeah,
Waylon really made some big strides from spring to fall. Just he's always been really hard to move in there. He plays with good natural leverage, being a 6'1" guy. Needed to work on getting off of blocks, being a little bit more violent with his hands, and did those things and was really impressive. At times, he played some really good football for us this fall, and honestly, if you go back and you try to find who's our most consistent football player all year long, it's him. And I know he may have not been recognized as being an all-conference guy by everybody else around the conference, at the end of the season. But I'm not sure how much video that they watch or how much end-zone copy of tape that they watch, because he's somebody you have to account for. And got blocked very few times this fall, including the Pac-12 team that we played and the SEC team that we played. He held his own in those games. Swally battled some injuries, and was really coming on towards the end of the season. Had that torn labrum. He had surgery postseason, but it affected his play in there a little bit. Just the wear and tear of the season. Things started to go downhill for him a little bit. We didn't play him very much on some Saturdays and kind of let that thing heal, and where he had some more confidence in it. But when he was coming off of a bye week and he was able to feel healthy, he was really making some strides and getting better and showed some promise. So he's going to sit out the spring. We'll have to physically get him caught up, this summer. But to get that shoulder fixed for the first time in a couple of years, I'm excited to see what he can do. So he's just going to have to be. He's going to have to get it done in June and July, and August before fall camp. So, and the other guy you mentioned, Robert, he's the one that probably was the most pleasant surprise. I thought that I knew what Waylon would be and that I knew what Swally would be, and with Robert, we really didn't know. He came in, we put him at 3 technique. He was used to playing a little bit of nose stuff. And was really, really consistent and was solid all year long. I mean, he's a tough guy. He's a violent player, and played some dominant football at times this year too. So, there's still a chance that he gets a year back. He's done the waiver and he's going through that process to see if he can be granted that year from when he had to drop out of school. earlier in his career, and so we're still holding out hope that we could still have him in the mix too. So I'm hoping that can be a deep unit again for us this fall.
Well, and I'll tell you, you mentioned the depth, and that was definitely a pleasant surprise this past. And going into recruiting, you knew that was something that had to be addressed. Was the defensive line. Now, as we get ready to open up the fire, which is recruiting again as it opens back up, anything in particular that you guys are looking for that unit, and just talk about that a little bit.
We ended up taking 5 tackles in last year's class, and just with where we were numbers wise when we got here, we've had to take some spots from a couple other positions and try to fix immediate needs, and we've been able to do that. But by taking 5 tackles in last year's class, we're just looking for a defensive end in this one. We have a junior college kid that's committed to us, that if we can hang on right here in the end, that we feel like we're going to get a really good player there. There are some other positions that we've had conversations that if things don't work out the way that we think that they will, and we were to lose a guy at a certain position, we may put that money into a defensive tackle. So we do have a short list of guys that we're recruiting, that we're home visiting this week, that I got plans to go see when we get out tomorrow morning. But as of right now, we're taking one end, and just seeing what happens with the other positions to determine if we recruit a tackle.
Your philosophy on recruiting. I mean, to me, I've followed recruiting and worked around it for as long as I can remember at this point, and it feels 95% relationship. I mean, you're going to walk into a home and you don't know the hot button, you don't know who really is making the decision. I mean, it could be a teacher when all is said and done. I mean, you don't know. Just kind of your philosophy on recruiting when you go in and you establish relationships and kind of present what A-State has to offer, what you have to offer as a coach, and so on and so forth. Because a lot of times, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is while you're a defensive line coach, you may be out recruiting a running back. Or you may be recruiting a wide receiver. And I know people think that's weird, but it's based on territory and good vibes and so on and so forth.
Yeah, well, we recruit by area, just like you mentioned. So, it's my job to find the best talent in that area and to bring it back to the table and put it in front of position coaches, and then it kind of moves up the channel. But, I mean, as far as my philosophy, I don't know that it's any different from anyone else, but, I mean, it's a 365 days a year job. I mean, it really never stops, even though we're in a dead period right now that ends at midnight tonight. You never really stop DMing guys and calling guys. We're on a once a week phone call deal right now, and I mean it's always going on. So I feel like you've got to be relentless like that. You've got to stay in touch with your guys, or people sneak in on them, and it's definitely about relationships, like you mentioned, and not only relationships with the prospect or the family or whoever we feel like is going to be the shot caller in helping them make the decision. Also relationship with coaches, so that when something happens, or let's say, right now that someone gets dropped by a school, and if you got a good enough relationship with the coaching staff somewhere, that they may pick up that phone and call you and say, hey, do you guys need a running back? Do you need whatever? And things that have worked that way for us, and actually have worked that way in this recruiting class as well. So it's building relationships and then getting close enough to that prospect to find out who's important to them and who's going to help them make that decision, and making sure that we get our head coach in front of them. He's as good as anybody I've ever been around when he's in the house, and that we can get him in front of the right people.
Well, and okay.
He gets one shot. We can go see him 3 times. He gets one shot to get in the house. So.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. And it's a process, and it's very different with the head coach involved. And it's a joke, but I've seen you guys use it in the past. I use it in what I do, and it's the ABC, always be close. When you bring him in, I mean, that's it. That's the only time you're going to get him like that, and that's right. It's important.
That's right, and really, you feel like that you've covered all the bases, and that you've answered all the questions for them. But there's just something that's when the head coach is there that's impressive to those prospects to know, man, I must be important if the head coach is sitting in my living room. But to get him in front of the parents and to really sell the vision, which is not hard to sell here. I mean, there's a strong winning tradition here. You see the things that are being built and the direction that things are going and the way that we've recruited the past couple of years, and we feel like that we're still rising. And so to get him in front of them and to be able to answer any questions that they have and and that the prospect may have, but as it's narrowing down to them making the decision, because he's really a guy that we try to bring in, for me to be that last week right before signing day on a couple of guys, and kind of give recruiting a time to other people come in and try to talk to your prospects and possibly get them to maybe not decommit, but hey, come take a look at our place and get on our campus. And then I want to make sure that once all of that stuff has happened, that we can get Blake in there and kind of close the deal on some guys.
And recruiting is kind of changed and evolved. I mean, you've got more services, and now with social media. I mean, social media plays a vital role in recruiting now. I mean,
for sure.
You see it. You see prospects. You see kids reaching out to coaches, just trying to be seen and things like that. Just what you've seen in social media as of these last few years and how it's applied to recruiting.
Oh, definitely. But not only the accessibility of getting someone's highlights, but just also communicating. We can DM. We can DM a prospect, but we can't text them. So, I mean, I'm in constant, contact with guys through Twitter and things. But just, when I started now in the era of you had to go get VHS tapes from places. And you come in and you hand them a blank VHS tape and you wait around the office until they run a copy, and then you physically get it and get back in the car and go to the next stop. I mean, that's how I came up. So it's so much easier now, to sit back and, I mean, we can pull up highlights on any kid in the country that we want to right now. And then, I mean, that's a good thing for the players. It's really easy to get your stuff in front of college football coaches.
Okay, so now we switch gears a little bit. Obviously, with success comes change, and with change comes a little bit of ripples, waves, if you will. For you guys as a staff, for the first couple of years, everybody was held intact. And then, of course, other programs will pay attention to the success, and I attribute it to what Coach Anderson has been able to put together here with the staff of you guys that makes it attractive to other schools. And we've had a few guys go, and obviously we've had some guys that have had offers and have maintained staying here and whatnot. Just with your relationship as a staff and how you guys are, you got a tight bond and everybody is all in for the same reason. Just kind of how you guys have handled that and how you handle, offers or interest or anything like that. Because there comes a time that you guys are in fact being recruited as well.
Yeah, for sure, and first of all, just knowing that with Blake in charge, that, I mean, he's going to be able to get a high quality person. If I were to leave today, there's going to be tons of people that want the job that I have. So there's always going to be qualified applicants and people that are interested in the job. But I don't think there was ever any panic, from Blake. And honestly, I think that he hires coaches knowing that there's a chance that these guys, I mean, if I hire a good staff, there's going to be a chance that they're going to get hired away, and or the people are going to try to hire them away. Position coaches are going to become coordinators, and coordinators head coach, and those type things. I mean, I think those are the type of people that Blake has assembled here, and the type of people that he wants to continue to bring in when he hires coaches. But he really just, hey, Walt's leaving, Glenn's leaving, Tuck's leaving. Hey, if you know of an O-line guy, you know of a running back guy, let's put some names together, and so really it's been more about that and us just making sure that we were talking about this before we went on camera too, just taking time to hire the right guy and not rushing just to fill it. Like you said, get somebody to hurry up that can get out there on the road and recruit for us. Making sure that long term that we're getting the right person, and he's definitely done that with Buster. I think he's an outstanding coach in person, and I'm excited for him to get here. And with the other two positions that are still out there, I know some people that he's talking to, and it's going to be another big time hire. I mean, because of what Walt did when he was here and what Glenn did when he was here and what we're doing, it's going to be a better position for the next guy. I mean, you're not coming into a situation where we're losing a bunch of players and that it's a rebuilding process and things like that. We're building a monster, man, and it's it's established here. And as long as that guy's sitting down there at the end of the hallway, I mean, I just know we're going to be all right. I mean, at the end of the day, if we couldn't find a guy to come in here and call plays, and the worst thing is that he has to do it, I think we're going to be all right.
No question. Well, and you mentioned Coach Buster Faulkner. You have a previous relationship with him. You know him, and that always helps too when he can come in. He knows a couple guys. He knows yourself. He knows Joe, and just your thoughts on him and your connection.
Yeah, we spent a spring together at Central Arkansas before I left, and then I think Buster ended up staying there a year and then left for another job as well. But we competed against each other there for a spring, got to know him really well, and I've got a lot of respect for him as a coach. I think he's grown since we were together there at UCA, and I think that he brings that right temperament and that right mindset. I think you guys are going to like what he brings to the table and adds to the offense. So I'm excited for him to get here, man. Spring's going to be competitive, and it'll be a little trash talking going on between us and Buster, but I'm looking forward to it.
There's no question about that, and and since you know him and you know more than most people that are watching this right now, the level is not going to drop off at all. The offense is going to stay the same, but Coach Faulkner is going to put in his wrinkles, and he had a lot of success at MTSU,
Yeah.
and you as a defensive guy, you would know a little bit more about what he brings to the table too. So for those that might be worried about a drop off,
I don't think you're going to see that. And I mean, you're talking about a guy who's, he's done some pretty impressive things the last couple of years at Middle Tennessee, and I think they had, like 6,000 yards, this year from his quarterback that was a freshman. I think that kid set maybe a freshman record for completions or attempts I saw or something the other day. So, he's a quality coach. Buster has. He's come up the hard way. He was a Division II player, and he's been a Division II coach, and he's kind of climbed through the ranks, and he's earned it, and he's built to last, and you guys are going to love him. And it's Blake Anderson's offense. It's always going to be Blake Anderson's offense, and you're not going to see any drastic changes, and you'll see him, I'm sure, come in and be able to put his thumbprint on it, and and have some ownership, and I'm sure it'll be a collaboration between him and Blake. But we are who we are. We're going to play fast and try to be physical with it, and do all the things that we've been able to do here at Arkansas State the last 5 years. That part is not going to change. It's just the little subtle things, and what he brings to the table as a play caller on Saturdays. It'll be fun.
Now I get to ask you a question as a dad. You got to be pretty proud of what Dre accomplished in year one at the Division I level, and the accolades are coming in, and I don't think anybody who truly knew Dre and knew his character and knew his abilities on the field, I don't think anybody should be all that surprised with what he accomplished in year one.
Yeah, he's I don't want to say that I was surprised. All the postseason honors and stuff that have come in, it's pretty impressive to see that resume that he put together out there this year. But just if you saw high school tape on him, if you watched him play in high school, you knew he was going to be really good. That it was just a matter of time. I don't think any of us knew that it would happen this quick. Played high school safety, moved to linebacker. You never really know how those transitions are going to go. You think you know. But until a guy has been in the box and he's had to see things and fit and play downhill and do those things, you really don't know how quickly that he can adapt to that new position. And obviously he's a great athlete, so I think he got better and better as he got more comfortable in there. And I think we're talking about a kid that's going to play on Sundays in 2 or 3 years from now. So he's had a good start to his career, and I think he's been able to stay humble and not let it go to his head, and I think he's ready to get back grinding and see if he can't get better. He knows that he needs to get better, and I think you're going to see that happen. He's still growing. He's 235 pounds now. I think he was 212, 215 when he got there in the summer. Size 14 shoes. Can jump out of the gym. He's showing me pictures where he goes between the legs and dunks the other day. A phenomenal athlete that's shaving once every 2 weeks right now. So I don't even think that he's done growing. So as he fills out and gets bigger, I joke with him all the time. You may end up, I may end up coaching you. You may be a D end, and he's gaining that kind of weight. He already outgrew safety, and he's 235 now just naturally. So who knows what he's going to be in a couple of years? But yeah, he's had a great start to his career.
How did you handle year one balancing it? Because for you, 9 times out of 10, Arkansas State's going to be playing at the same time that Arkansas is playing.
Right,
and,
right.
This is really the first time that you haven't been really able to be there and watch him play all the time or be around him all the time. Yeah. How did you handle year one? Because I know that's tough.
It is tough, and there was very few times that we played at the same time. Mm-hmm. So I was able to catch some. We were playing some night games most of the time. I was able to catch some day games on TV. as well. But we had some open weeks in there too. I think I got to see him play 3 times this fall. So Blake was really good about that, and just allowing me to go see him play on a Saturday. So I think I went to Fayetteville once. I caught him in Tuscaloosa, and I caught him in Oxford. So they played a couple of times that were fairly close. And so but mainly TV. It is hard with this profession and us playing on the same days. So
and part of that too is, I mean, watching on TV is one thing, being able to be there physically is another thing, but you knew the challenge and you knew what it would be. How often do you guys communicate and talk as far as maybe on the phone and stuff like that? I mean, pretty frequent.
Yeah, all the time, and really some dad stuff and some, some coach stuff, but we stay in close contact, and he just got through spending a couple of weeks here in Jonesboro. I think he was hanging out with Coach Taylor's son last night and went to see Star play. I think play basketball last night, but he's headed back, and they've got a team meeting on Monday, just like we do. But we stay in close contact and just make sure that he's doing the things that he's supposed to be doing.
Last thing, as you guys get ready to head into National Signing Day and into spring, just kind of the emphasis for you guys, and knowing that the guys are going to get turned loose with Coach Shadid, just maybe the emphasis that you told those guys before, okay, I'm letting you go, but get ready when you come back. Coach Shadid's going to have you. Maybe your final message to those guys.
Yeah, really, I sent my position group a Teamworks message, a couple of times over the break, and just, I hope everybody's enjoyed that break and that you're kind of refreshed mentally and physically and ready to roll. But let's hit the ground running when you get here. So an individual plan has been laid out for guys, what they need to do, and we need guys to come in here and attack that thing relentlessly. And be ready to go for the spring. It ought to be highly competitive, and like I said, let's get ready to take that next step and hopefully be dominant.